The Komodo is a compact and highly powerful cinema camera with a 6K Super 35 global shutter CMOS sensor. The sensor size results in a 1.5 crop factor when filming in 6K. The crop factor increases when the resolution gets reduced. The crop factor in RED cameras refers to the ratio of the current frame to that of a 35mm film frame. The focal length on a lens always refers to the full frame sensors, meaning a 50mm focal length leads to a 75mm focal length when filming with 6K and a 100mm focal length when filming in 4K sensors. The Komodo uses a global shutter, which is a feature that allows for the simultaneous capture of an entire frame of an image or video. Without a global shutter, the camera captures the image line by line, which can result in distortion in fast-moving scenes, also known as the rolling shutter effect. Dynamic range refers to the difference between the brightest and darkest parts of an image that the camera can capture. Everything above or below gets registered as pure black or pure white. In film production, dynamic range is usually measured in stops. According to the manual, the Komodo has 16 stops of dynamic range. A camera with a high dynamic range can capture detail in both the brightest and darkest parts of an image, resulting in a more balanced and natural-looking image. This is particularly important in scenes with high contrast, such as landscapes with bright sunlight and deep shadows. Since the cage is already mounted on the camera, we have ensured the protection of the Komodo while also gaining numerous additional mounting options. We can take advantage of the enhanced versatility it offers for attaching various accessories and peripherals to the camera. For more flexibility while filming, you have the option to mount the top or the side handle. The RED Komodo has a Canon RF bayonet. There are plenty of adapters, so you can always mount your favorite lens to the Komodo. For running gunshots and more mobility, you can use the NPF Canon batteries. You can mount up to 2 batteries and swap them without turning off the Komodo. The V-mount offers a longer battery life, and you can also power the monitor with it. If you are using the V-mount, don't forget to plug in the turned-on monitor via BNC connector first, or else you won't be able to access it. The next step is to mount the monitor onto the camera. Mount the 1/4 thread part with the monitor. To power the monitor, we need an NPF battery or the V-mount battery. Pull the small latch behind the monitor and slide the battery in. Slide in the cold shoe of the handle and lock it carefully. 12G SDI on RED Komodo enables 4K signal out. Safety warning. Before connecting the monitor to the camera via the BNC connector, make sure to power up the monitor as well as the camera beforehand. This is crucial to prevent damage to the SDI outputs. You can also power the monitor with the V-mount battery. A smartphone can also be used as an external monitor. For this, you have to be in the same network as the Komodo and have the Red Control app downloaded. Safety warning. Make sure you do not block the exhaust, or otherwise the camera can eventually shut itself down as a safety measure due to overheating. On top is the status bar. The CF icon shines green because we already inserted the memory card. Click on the status bar to format said memory card. We can also see the TE and the check mark, which shows if we need a sensor recalibration and the camera is not overheating. If the indicator is not green, it's important to proceed with a black shading calibration. Black shading maximizes the image quality. It ensures that the pixel sensitivity remains consistent and clean throughout the image. Black shading measures the pattern of fixed noise, saves it, and then subtracts the fixed noise, so only the random noise is left behind. To perform the calibration, press Menu, Maintenance, Calibrate, and then press OK. We need to ensure that the camera has enough battery power. It's important that the Red Komodo does not turn off during this process. You should always do a black shading calibration when you have an extreme change in temperature, exposure time, or when either the TOE on the status bar is not green. The 3D LUT icon tells you if the image you're seeing on the monitor has a 3D LUT applied to it. LUT is a file or preset that is applied to the camera's video output to adjust the color and tone of the image in real time. It helps cinematographers, videographers, and colorists visualize how the final image might appear after post-production color grading. On the bottom, you can quickly change the settings for frame rate, ISO, iris, shutter, and white balance. Just tap on a setting and swipe. The histogram provides a first overview of shadows and highlights in the scene and should only be used as a quick reference because it's basing its values off the IRE scale and not the raw image data. You can see separate overlaid histograms for each color channel. There are 2 goalposts for each color channel. The bars begin to fill based on whether there is clipping in the shadows or the highlights. If we allow less light to reach the sensor, the bars fill downwards and noise in the shadows increases. Conversely, if we allow more light to reach the sensor, the bars fill upwards and highlight clipping starts. It is generally acceptable to let the downward goalposts fill up to around 50% while still maintaining an acceptable level of noise. However, even a small amount on the upward goalposts can be unacceptable. There are also 2 traffic lights for each color channel. The traffic lights light up if 2% of the pixels in the relative color channel are under or overexposed. None of the traffic lights are on, so the scene is well exposed. If we decrease the shutter, the goalposts start to fill downwards and the traffic lights now have come on. This indicates that 2% of all the pixels in the respective color channel are now underexposed, but the histogram is still fine. If we now change the ISO to a higher setting, we see the histogram is shifting over to the right side and the image seems brighter, but the traffic light is still on. That is because traffic lights are based on the image raw data, unlike the histogram, which is based on the IRE scale. ISO doesn't directly affect the raw image data and is stored as metadata, allowing for adjustments in post-production. The ISO functionality in the Komodo operates more like a lookup table. It doesn't have a native ISO, meaning that the sensor receives the same amount of photons regardless of the ISO setting. RED recommends using ISO of 800 as a starting point and working from there. When it comes to good exposure of the scene, we must work with the raw image data and therefore with the traffic lights and goalposts. Before we can start to record, we must choose a record format. We have two options. When we go in Project Settings, then Format, we can choose between ProRes and Red RAW. ProRes delivers high quality and wide compatibility. A big benefit of the Komodo is the Red RAW format. Red RAW retains the highest possible image quality with minimal compression. This can be advantageous if you require the utmost clarity, sharpness, and color accuracy in your footage. Now that you have chosen your preferred settings, we are ready to shoot.